This video is meant to give you some insight as to what to expect when you take the MCA math test this spring. Some things to think about, and that is that the test is untimed. That's very important, so you can take as long as you need. It's going to be given over 2 days, and this year it is April 16th and 17th. Answer questions that you are sure about first, and then move on to the next one. If you find one that you're going to struggle with, then we recommend that you move on and do the easier ones first and come back and do the more difficult one later, because we don't want to have you get stressed out over a difficult question and then have trouble on easier questions that you should get right. Think positively. Some questions may seem too hard at first, but again, read it carefully and it might help you out in answering it, lower that stress level. If no figure is provided or a picture is provided, right, you can draw one. You can write on the test booklet in the space provided, and if they do give you a figure, you can draw on it. When you finish each problem, reread it to make sure that the answer sounds right, and make sure that the number of the question on the answer sheet matches the number of the question that you're working on. We don't want to get a question right and then put it in the wrong answer blank. There are 4 segments to the math test, and you must finish each segment before moving on. And you'll tell the teacher when that is. Again, no time limit, so take your time and do a good job. You may write in the test booklet, and there is a formula sheet that's going to be offered to you in there, and I'll show you that on the next slide. This test has 3 kinds of questions. Actually, I take that back. It only has 2. There is no open-ended questions anymore, so that's good news. You have multiple choice, and you have gridded response, and we'll look at those as well. On this particular picture here, you have an example of a multiple choice and how you would answer it right here. The formula sheet looks like this. There's 2 pages, so if we look closely at it, there should be some familiar things. We have the area of a square, rectangle, parallelograms, triangle, area of a rhombus or a kite, trapezoid, area of a parallelogram, and you also have circle, circumference for area, or circumference end area, arc length, volume of pyramid and cone, a sphere, and then some more current things that we're working on, distance formula, you have Pythagorean theorem, quadratic formula, as well as some trigonometry here. So that is available to you that you can use, and you can use your calculators. So here's an example of a gridded response where the answer is -8, and you would put it into the response area on top right here, and then you would fill in the blanks below. So this spot would be for a negative symbol, and then here's your 8. Here's an answer sheet example where you have a multiple choice question right here, you'd have a gridded response question here, and then a multiple choice question here again. This is what your booklet will look like when you come to an end of a section, in which you would have to then tell your teacher and then they would seal it. And again, you may use your calculator on all sections. Here's another example. Notice that you have 4, 5, 6, so your answer blanks go down, and then 7, 8, so don't go across. We don't want to make simple mistakes like that. And a grid response question. Here are some examples. Now, I'm not too worried about the question, how to do the question here, but let's look at the answer, how it can be put in. The answer was 65, and notice that they put 65 on the far right in this particular case, in the middle in this case, again in the middle here, and again in the middle here. So the key is just to make sure you fill in the circles underneath wherever you put your answer. So it's not that picky. Another question. Here you have an example where you could enter the question or the answer as a decimal, which they did here. Again, making sure you fill in the circles in the right places. And then here it's entered as a fraction, where these symbols right here represent division bars. So again, very up to you in terms of how you put it in there. Just make sure you fill in the circles properly. And this ends our little video, and hopefully it's giving you a little bit of help into what to expect, so it's not quite a surprise, and that we can relax a little bit more and do the best we can. Good luck.